Hi, Scott Whitley here, hope you're doing well, and welcome to this brand new series of bass demos featuring classic 1980s instruments like this Ibanez Musician here. Before I talk about that, let me just explain that all the instruments in this series are, or they belong to a friend of mine who's been a collector for about 30 or 40 years. And how this all came about is that he is now cataloguing his collection, and it's going to be kind of live on a website pretty soon called Vintage Investments. So when that goes live, I'll drop a link on my social media and on here. And basically, we're kind of like photographing all the instruments. I've been setting them up. And then I just said it'd be great, you know, for me and for you, if it'd be cool if I could borrow these basses and make this series of videos. So he's absolutely fine with that. So it's kind of like a win-win. All the basses that I do feature in this series are all up for sale. So at this point, you'd have to probably send me a message either via Facebook, you know, Scott Whitley Bass Guitar Services over there, or you could shoot me an email at scott@scott-whitley.com if you're interested, and I can put you in touch with the guy himself. So let's kind of just quickly talk about this bass and what it is, what year it is, etc. It's an Ibanez Musician bass, and it's an MC-924, I believe. And the serial number tells me it's a 1981, but all the features about it suggest, from what I've learned online, it's a 1982 instrument. So I don't know, this maybe is one of the very, very first ones made of this particular series, the MC-924. If you're an Ibanez expert and you know different, or I'm correct or whatever, please feel free to comment below and let me know if I'm right or wrong. So the stuff that went down in 1982 with these Ibanez Musicians was they first of all changed the construction of the body. The early ones had a sandwich with three pieces, you know, like a front, a back, and an ash core. And now in 1982, they've gone for a solid ash body and done away with that three part laminate deal. Another thing that happened is the bridge was moved nearer to this side of the body. And you'll see that in later videos when I'm filming the earlier version. There's a bigger gap there. What that allowed them to do was move the neck kind of pocket further into the bass itself. It's not a neck pocket; it's a through bass, but actually, where the whole neck kind of effectively moved this way, making the bass a little bit shorter. I think it was maybe a slightly smaller headstock now after 82. And the body was contoured a lot more, so that's just made the whole thing a little bit more lightweight and a little bit more ergonomic. That wasn't a word I heard bandied around a lot back then, but it is, you know. As I say, it's a through neck design. So as far as I know, all the Ibanez Musician basses had 5-piece laminate necks, 3 pieces of maple, with, I think it was walnut sandwiched in between. I can't tell if this has or not because it's a painted finish, but I assume that all the painted ones were the same, you know, the same construction, just painted over. Trying to think if there was any. Oh yeah, another thing that happened, another 2 things that happened in 82 were the pickups changed from the earlier version to the super pickups, right? So these like Super J4, Super P4, or is it Super 4J and Super 4P? Either way, brand new design in that year of pickups, single coils. So essentially what this is, because under there, although it looks like a big humbucker, it's a single coil. It's a P bass, split single coil, all right? So you've essentially got you know, that PJ configuration. The only difference being this is like a reverse P, like some of the Warwicks have and things like that. So, which is a kind of idea I adopted in my own SWB1 bass with the angled pickups, where these poles are slightly more that way, and so you get a nicer, rounder kind of tone on the G and D. The other change that happened on the 82 models, again from what I understand, we went from a three-way pickup selector toggle switch to a blend control. So that's what this has got. It's got a blend control. I'll come back to the controls in a minute. Just kind of like, if you've never seen one of these things before, some of the cool features. The bridge is a serious lump of metal. It looks like it's actually brass rather than gold plate. May be wrong, but the saddles are certainly brass, and it's really, really big, substantial, and heavy. Kind of like Goto style tuners, but they're Ibanez's own, like Goto on steroids. You know, really chunky, like super engineered looking things. As I said before, it's a through neck design. Just nice little touches, like on the back here it says built by the proud people of Ibanez Japan, and it just kind of looks really classy. It's finished in polar white, which was another new thing around that time. It's what do you call it? Ebony fingerboard. Really nice brass truss rod cover. Just a nice little finishing touch there. Ibanez logo in gold. Serial number on the back, and crafted in Japan. And it's just a lovely thing, and it's in, you know, superb condition. I mean, this is let's do the math then. What's that, like 40? Is it like 48 years old? No, 38 years old. Sorry, 38 years old. So that's insane. I can't believe a 1981 bass is. I still think of that as a, you know, kind of quite a modern instrument, but no, it's nearly 40 years old, and it's in lovely condition. You got like the odd mark on the corner where it's been not putting it maybe on a stand or something over its time, but overall it looks like somebody's really, really babied this. You know, really looked after it. There's not even like a lot of wear on the pickups or anything. You know, sometimes you get wear on the pickup covers or on the paint. None of that. Lovely thing. So let me get back round to talking about the controls. These pickups are, and the electronics. These pickups are passive single coils, and they run into an active preamp, which is what a lot of active basses do. In fact, the ones with actually active pickups are pretty few and far between. So what you've got, I said before, a pan control here, or a blend control. So when it's clockwise, you've just got the neck pickup. In the middle, both pickups, a little detent. Hear that click? When it's there, both pickups are on at the same volume. And when it's rolled all the way anti-clockwise, you get the bridge pickup on its own, soloed. Then you've got the master volume control. I'm assuming all these three controls, in fact, I'm almost certain that they are passive controls working straight after the pickups, right? Because you've got a passive tone control here. Then you've got an active and passive switch, which turns the active preamp on and off. So if you kind of have everything set in the middle, because these all have that detent as well, okay? If you got them set in the middle and you switch between passive and active, you don't hear a massive change in tone because the tone controls aren't cutting or boosting, but it just has a kind of a slightly more open sound. A lot of people talk about passive basses as sounding warmer than actives, and actives sound a bit unnatural, but really it's kind of the other way. Passive basses, what happens is you lose some of the high frequency stuff and some of the low stuff through your guitar cable. Is it capacitance or resistance? It's one of those two. But I do know that that's the deal. So like, you know, if you use like a really long guitar cable, you might lose even more high frequency stuff. And what that equates to is a nice kind of middly sound without any harsh high end or anything through the amp. And it sounds warm, it sounds nice and woody and warm. But really, it's you're losing stuff. So with an active circuit on the bass, the leads are so short from the pickups to the preamp that you don't lose very much at all. And then by the time the signal gets to your amp, all that high frequency and low frequency stuff is still there, you know, because it's been boosted right here. So you can kind of achieve the same kind of tone you get from a passive instrument by using EQ on your amp, but it's not always, you know, it's not always the most practical way if that's the kind of sound you want. So on this instrument, you've got both, the best of both worlds. The other cool thing about this instrument is, because this is a passive tone control before the preamp, it works whether the bass is in active or passive mode. So it gives you just that little bit more control and flexibility over tone. So let's kind of leave it in passive mode and just kind of go through some of the kind of tones you can get out of this thing. All right, so this is the neck pickup soloed, volume up full, tone up full. Really classic P-bass kind of tone, and a great one at that. These strings are absolutely brand spanking new round wounds, stainless steel, so it might be your thing not to have those kind of strings. So I thought I should point that out, that it can sound a lot more mellow than this with older strings. It's just it's just our brand new ones on. So let me roll the tone control all the way off. Now this is a big fat tone control. It's working over a lot of frequency information. So what I mean by that is when I roll that all the way off, it's not kind of just taking the sparkle away or the you know the high stuff. It's taking a lot of the mids away as well. So you can hear it off, on, off, on. So just by finding that sweet spot that works for you, it really smooths things over, right? So that's full, and that's just a little, maybe like a third up. I kind of do that. I'll go all the way off and then back up a bit. I can judge better than going all the way from full to like. Meh, what's that? Okay, in the middle. So it's kind of just a little bit smoother than up full, you know. I mean, I'm really digging in there. Let me play softly. That's tone up full, and maybe like say about 30% up. All right. Tone back up full. Into the middle position. Now, obviously, with it being a blend or pan control, you've got kind of infinite mix between the two pickups. But you may or may not know that I'm kind of really that guy that just wants those real, you know, definite switches in tone. Okay, so I kind of just, it's either like, you know, neck, both, or bridge for me. I kind of want those definite kind of changes. There are odd times where I kind of use those subtle blends, you know. But let me go for it, right into the middle. There you go. You heard it just for a second before. great kind of slap tone, that it's A. Because you're getting that kind of like scoop mid kind of thing going on. What was I going to say? Fingerstyle works great for that as well. Alright, so that's kind of playing quite lightly. If I dig in, you know, that's quite in vogue with a lot of players, you know, that kind of getting that kind of snap when you really, really dig in. I'm going to roll the tone all the way off. Just a little bit up the tone, maybe about 30%. All right. So it's kind of like got a smoother vibe. It's got that typical PJ in the middle kind of tone, but a really good one at that. And because there's quite a distance between the pickups, you know, you get that cancelling thing, that scoop sound. Really strong. It's really cool. So let's go to the bridge pickup, and instantly you can hear that real change in tone. You get that really honky middly kind of thing. Really good for harmonics. Really cool. And again, if you kind of like roll some of that tone control off. So again, that's like about a third the way up. It seems to be like a nice little sweet spot for me, that. It's kind of like, I say, taking a lot of that kind of aggression almost out of it, you know. Sounds great. So that's the thing, that passive tone control, it is almost like you could think of it as like an aggression control, you know, smooth when it's lower and more like a biting and aggressive when it's up. So yeah, very effective, works very well. Okay, so let's move to active mode. Now, right off the bat, that shouldn't sound that different. So here's passive, here's active. Right, passive, active. Just check roll in the middle there. Yeah, we are. So the thing that I noticed most of all is, like I said before, all that high-end information, all that kind of sizzle, that all is allowed to breathe now. So it's not like adding highs, it's just letting them come through. And here's where the passive tone control's cool. Is if you did, you know, want to boost certain things here, but just get a little bit of that sizzle away, you can still use it. All right. Now I'm just going to give you a few examples of how I'd use these tone controls and EQ controls kind of creatively or practically. So if I was in passive mode on a bass and I went to use a pick mid-set, that's the kind of tone you get, you know. Nothing wrong with that, really nice. But particularly if it's like a rock vibe, I might want to get that really scoop mid type of thing. So here's where the active stuff comes in. Tone up full, volume up full, neck pickup. I'm going to take some of the mids away. Check it out. So again, so that's with the mids in the middle. Scooped away a little bit. Alright, boost the lows a little bit. Really gives it some thickness when you're using a pick, you know. Some weight behind it, and use a bit of the highs. And here's the difference. This is passive, active without those settings. You know. So that's, you know, like a really cool use of, or practical use, if you like, of the active circuitry, because you can just kind of do that on the bass. You're not having to go back to the amp and change everything. Let me flatten it all off again. All right, and I guess like an obvious candidate for that scoop thing might be, for a lot of people, slap bass. So I'm going to put it in with both pickups the same volume, active mode, right? And I don't actually do that scoop mid thing that much myself, but I know it's a favourite, so here we go. So that's flat in active mode with both pickups on, right? And I kind of like that. You know, what I might do myself, I tend to just like add a little bit of bottom end, right, and just a hair of treble, you know. I kind of like that that mid information to be in there when I'm slapping. But what you can do is scoop those mids, boost those highs maybe a little more, and then you've got that really classic, you know. Bring a bit back. Very, very cool. So again, just to show you the difference, passive, for example. Active. You know, like really got a lot more weight to it and stuff. And again, you can do that right on the bass. The thing is with these sort of classic EQ circuits from the 80s is they kind of like operate quite differently in a lot of ways to modern EQ circuits. You know, they're sort of, they're a lot more creative in a lot of ways, and they kind of seem to overlap. You know, it's like the mid and the you know, you affect one and you feel like you want to take the next one down and stuff. But that's part of the kind of, you know, the almost organic feel about these old preamps. It's great. Let me show you another one. That's the Hoff Point, singer in Big Country. If I'm using the bridge pickup on a bass, what I find is, again, I'm going to demonstrate by going back to passive, is you lose all that kind of weight, all the bottom end that you get when you're using the bridge pickup, the neck pickup. So in passive mode, here's the neck pickup, and here is the bridge pickup. Now, it's almost funny, it's almost laughable when you do it like that. It almost doesn't sound like a bass tone as such, like a regular, like practical, you know, like a tone you could use in a song. So here we go again, and then, but it's a nice sound. You know, it's a sound I like to use. So what I would do if I was using a passive bass is I go over to the amp and I probably just boost the lows quite a bit, and I might roll some of the highs off either using the tone control, excuse me, or the treble on the amp. Right. Again, with an active bass, you can compensate for that stuff right here on the bass. So here we go. Bridge pickup. I'll set the EQ flat and then switch it on, right? So it doesn't really change much. Now I'm going to boost the lows. Now check that out. I've gone a bit much there. I'm just going to roll just a bit of the highs off. No, back there. Passive. Active. It's just got more weight. I can even add more if I like. So again, like a kind of practical, subtle use of active circuitry that's like really, really useful in a live gig situation or in the studio. Another great thing about this preamp, I mean, it puts me in mind. I had no idea, you know, about this technical stuff. You know, like did they use, was it FET technology or something for preamps back then? If you know what that's all about, drop us a comment so that everybody else can can learn from you about it. But I do know that, for example, the treble frequency, it's rather than boosting those really hi-fi, sparkly highs, it's almost like upper mid stuff, you know. So, you know, by taking all the mids out, boosting the lows up full and treble up full on the bridge pickup, you get that, you know, that like mid, sort of, yeah, like mid 80s kind of Mark King thing, you know, like on Physical Presence, you know. Really, really like the old JDs he was playing, you know. You know, which is a great tone. It's one of my favourite bass sounds of all time, and it's available on this bass. So yeah, and then you can get into all kinds of mad stuff. Like, for example, if I go back to the neck pickup, I'm going to flatten the EQ off again. And if you remember, if I roll the tone off, you get that smoothness, right? But let's say I want that smoothness, but just want to bring some of the growl back. You know, I could boost the mids here. Here we go. So passive, active with the tone nearly all the way off. In fact, all the way off, as opposed to passive. When it's all the way off, it's so subby and smooth. Probably great for reggae or something, but there's not got that. It's not got that definition. And like I say, in active mode, you can almost use that mid control as like a definition control, you know. So. I'm going to roll some of the lows off and turn that up full, the mid. Very, very cool. Very, you know, like I say, you know, hours of fun creating different tones. But essentially, how I tend to work is from flatten everything off, you know, tone up full, and then I kind of work from there. You know, I'll use these as like tools to kind of get the kind of sound I want. Like if I was doing a reggae thing, like I say, I'd want subby kind of tone. So, you know, I might just roll the tone all the way off, bring the bass up a little bit. I'm going to put it all the way up, and then I'm going to turn it down a bit, the volume, because it's nuts that. All right, so that's like sort of reggae. But there you go. It's a beautiful thing. It really is. And if you are interested in it, drop me a line, and like I say, I'll put you in touch with the guy whose collection this is. In the meantime, look after yourself, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.